Sorry.
That's fine. So, yes, I'm going to talk just a brief introduction about AI, and then I'm going to say what AI is and how it's created and how you would see it and use it in everyday life. I would expect all of you are using AI, whether you like it or not, on a regular basis, and then looking at how AI is evolving, and then just talking about some conclusions at the end. Um, so, firstly, artificial intelligence, AI, is changing the world that we're living in, and it's changing that world very, very quickly. Actually, what I see in healthcare is that the huge leaps forward that can be generated by AI are actually much faster than regulatory process. So a lot of things that could be happening now probably aren't because of the many hurdles we have to go through in regulation, which is understandable for safety, etc. But that's AI would go faster without that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have it, far from it, but there are so many evolutions in AI technology, in healthcare, and many other areas that the main thing is people keeping up and understanding what it's all about. It's in everyday devices from fridges to cars. You will have it regularly. If you use a computer, you're using AI. If you text on your phone and you have autocorrect, you're using AI. You're using it all the time. And I also want to look briefly at how AI is going to change the future as things evolve further over time. So, just to start with, AI, artificial intelligence, is a way of trying to make a computer work in a similar way to a human brain, by feeding it information so it will learn new pathways, and with those new pathways can eventually come to conclusions and give you answers to questions. So throughout this presentation, you're going to see images, and these images, for example, the ones that you're looking at now were actually generated by AI. So nothing in the rest of this that you will see will have been created by a human. In fact, when there's text, apart from when it's quotes, that's been generated by AI as well. Because what I wanted to do was demonstrate how it's there all the time and you probably don't realize it. So both of those images were from AI. And again, as I say, I rely on clever people to give the clever information. And these are quotes that I'm going to bring up on the screen from specialists in AI who have described what they believe is the definition of AI. We call programs intelligent if they exhibit behaviors that would be regarded as intelligent if they were exhibited by human beings. So basically, we're getting to the point where we want the computer to be at least as clever as we are. Um, and physicists ask what kind of place this universe is and seek to characterize its behavior systematically, whereas biologists ask what it means for a physical system to be living. In AI, they wonder what kind of information processing systems can ask such questions in the first place. It's a study of techniques for solving exponentially hard problems in polynomial time by exploiting knowledge about the problem domain itself. So, and then I prefer this one. AI is the attempt to make computers do what they do in the movies. In fact, a lot of people that I work with quote Star Trek and Star Wars as their inspiration for the things that they do. So these possibilities that are presented on screen are quite often turning into reality over time. Now, as I said, Within this presentation, many of the things that I'm going to be talking about or showing you are created by AI. One of the AI programs that I've used for this is one that generates video. It doesn't just generate video, it also generates the script to go with the video, and it will read it for you as well. So this is just by me saying to the technology, I want you to create a brief presentation about AI and what it is. Okay, so this is what it did. Now, you'll have to tell me if you can't.
AI is a mirror reflecting our intelligence, a tapestry woven from data and algorithms. It learns, adapts, and sometimes surprises us. It's not just code. It's a new frontier of understanding, a partner in creativity, a tool for progress. Yet it raises questions about humanity, ethics, and our very existence.
So that's what happens when you ask AI to simply generate something on your behalf. And this particular system of AI uses publicly available snips of video that it collects from the internet. So copyright-free content, and then it pairs it with the information it has generated by trawling the internet. Most systems nowadays using AI are predicated upon ChatGPT. And the most recent version of ChatGPT basically contains information from the internet up to and including January of 2025. I actually created this presentation October last year, so the information used to gather this would have been based on the content of the internet up to January 2024.
AI is a mirror reflecting our intelligence, so a tapestry woven from data and algorithms.
What I am trying to do is just move on to the next one. This proves I'm not as clever as a computer. At least I don't think I am. Let me just have a quick check. That's 6.
AI is a mirror reflecting.
No.
AI is a...
No, we don't want that. So what I then did is I went back to the system, and this is the clever thing about AI, because AI is just a tool. It's a tool that you put information in and it gives you what it can as a result of the information that you've given it. A bit like if you tell your sat nav the wrong thing, it will take you to the wrong address. And back in the day, I had a sat nav which I used a lot because I was a traveling representative and would quite often take me to a field or a monastery or to a road that didn't exist. Well, as systems update and grow over time and people interact with these systems, then they grow too. So what I've done is I've gone back to the same system and actually given it further instruction and put more information in and amended what it was saying. And then what you get is a more sophisticated result that's more human.
At its core, AI starts with simple algorithms, processing data like a child learning to count. As it evolves, it begins to recognize patterns, making basic decisions. Eventually, it dives deeper, mimicking human thought, analyzing vast data sets, and generating insights. It's a journey from simplicity to a complex digital brain.
Which is a much more easy to understand along the principles that I use to understand it, which is basically all computing comes down to binary function. So it's a 0 or it's a 1. And along that pathway, over time, it learns more and more things that equate to 0 and 1. And another option here and another option there. But it only learns about the options that it's taught. So those could be, if I just go on to the next video, it explains that process of teaching and how it learns and adapts.
At its core, AI starts with simple algorithms. For instance, analyzing a picture of sky and looking for a single color blue. If it sees the color blue, that picture is correct. Then it starts processing data like a child learning to count. being introduced to more data, for instance lots of shades of blue, lots of different images of sky. As it evolves, it begins to recognize patterns, making basic decisions. All images of the sky it has analyzed have been blue, so sky is blue. The AI algorithm can only learn and grow through the data that is shared with it. If the software developer starts to introduce sky of different colors and appearances, it can then recognize that sky is not always blue. Eventually, it dives deeper, mimicking human thought, analyzing vast datasets, and generating insights. Each AI model is created for a specific function, and will learn by analyzing the data shared with it for that purpose. The information that results is only as good as the data that has been shared, in both quality and quantity. The more data shared, the more is learnt, until you can create really accurate and beneficial software such as the software making this video.
So with that video, I don't know whether you noticed it was no longer American because I was able to select a different voice. I was also able to add further information that I thought made it a more understandable content and context that people can grasp more easily. And this is how AI works at its best when we, as humans, use it as the tool that it is to produce the information and the outcomes that we're looking for, whether that's analysing data relating to health, whether it is creating a video, or if it's creating things for you to put up posters or to send information.
At its core.
Right. So in everyday life, there's lots of times that you will already be using artificial intelligence. So what I wanted to do is just show you a few examples. So collision avoidance in your car. If you've got a car that bips or puts the brakes on, if you're getting too close to an obstacle or another vehicle, then that's AI. So this is an example of some content that I created because I regularly write blogs for my company and post them on the internet. So that image was created using AI, and so was the content beneath it. And then you can get something as clever as a fridge. So a fridge with artificial intelligence, this is already on the market. If you haven't got one, basically what it does is it knows what's in your fridge. It can actually connect to Amazon, and it can say, right, you generally use half a pint of milk a day. You've got a pint left. You're going to run out in 2 days. Now is the time to order. You can set it up so that it automatically orders, so that it will send you the groceries that you've run out of in your fridge. So it's the level of complexity that it can take it to is more restricted by the acceptability that people see as humans in having this type of technology in their homes, rather than the things it can and can't do. So then we come to the Internet of Things, or IoT. Now, this is something that gets used a lot in healthcare, and I'm very often involved in things that are part of the Internet of Things, and even did a project on the Internet of Things. So let's just start by one that a lot of you will have. I've got this one. Has anybody got Hive at home? Where they can, you've got Hive. That is part of the Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things is a network of interrelated devices which are embedded with sensors and software that connect and exchange data with other Internet of Things devices and the cloud. So the Internet of Things devices here are your phone, where you can decide what temperature you want your house at, and when you want your hot water on and off, and all of those things. And it connects to a cloud, and it also connects through the cloud to the thermostat. And so the thermostat knows how hot the house is. You've told it how hot you want the house to be. And in my case, hotter please today. And it will do what you're asking it to do by taking the data that is being fed through sensors and the data that is being given to it by yourself combining that information and controlling your heating. Now, if we take it up to the next level, then we can go into smart buildings. Now, if you want a really smart building, the Internet of Things can control all of the pieces, the warehousing of the inventory associated with building the house. So you can have a warehouse, an automated warehouse that will tell you what pieces of equipment, screws, nuts, bolts, pieces of wood, whatever, what is on the shelves or where it's located in the country, because it could be a virtual warehouse. It will then decide how much of each piece of equipment needs to be sent to the site at the correct time. And you can work on the basis of just in time, so that things are sent from warehousing, wherever that be in the country or the world, to get there at the right time for the builders. In theory, this is obviously. In the real world, there's traffic jams and plane strikes and whatever. But this is the whole principle behind these things, that you can firstly say, okay, and then once that house is built, or, tower block, when the thing needs to be dismantled or rebuilt or moved or whatever, there is a whole inventory of the recyclable elements of that building. So that building can then be taken down and recycled. And believe me, I've been involved in projects with this. So I do know this is possible. And then in addition, you will have things like vents on the roof for when the building is too hot, for circulating air. So the vents and the windows can be programmed to open automatically. It will sense the temperature. It will sense the humidity in a building. It will sense when somebody's in the room or not in the room. It will switch lights on and off. It will switch heating on and off. So what that does, it's making the foundation of smart cities and industries. It's conserving energy, and it's utilizing smart energy. It utilizes when's the best time to draw from the grid at the most cost-effective time. In fact, it works with anything that has the word smart in front of it, except for maybe a jacket or a 5-year-old. But the 5-year-old will understand this far better than we will. And then it comes the implementation of the Internet of Things in healthcare. So the Internet of Things in healthcare is all about helping people to remain as independent at home as much as possible, or in a location where they want to be, rather than being in hospital. I've always said, after nearly 30 years in healthcare, hospital is not a place to be if you're sick. It's not an ideal environment. It's full of germs, it's full of people, it's full of illness, because it's a hospital. But when you're at your most vulnerable, then that's where you end up being. So in a lot of cases, Internet of Things is used to help people get home quicker, whilst at the same time getting that same level of attention and monitoring from healthcare professionals at a distance. So it's about enabling people to take more control. And this can be through smartwatches. I've got one here. Mine will tell me, at the moment, I'm on a Get Fit campaign. So it tells me how many steps I've taken, what my blood pressure is, what my BMI is looking like, what my fat content is. It can tell you your heart rate, etc. That sort of information can be shared back to the healthcare provider. It can be used to enable video consultations. So if, for instance, you're at home and the healthcare professionals you're working with are slightly concerned about your blood pressure or your heart rate, they could potentially have you using devices at home to measure that on a regular basis, put the information in through your phone, and then if they think they want to have a word with you about something, you could have an online consultation with them and talk to them over the phone or on a video link for them to explain things that they might want you to do differently, or discuss different ways of changing your medication, for example. So how is it evolving? Well, as I said, in healthcare, we've got personalized medicine, medicine that is designed around you. AI will enable highly personalized treatment plans tailored to individual genetic profiles in future, which I know is a contentious subject, that potentially you could give your DNA and someone can say, well, actually, with that DNA profile, you're more likely to be sensitive to this particular cancer or this particular disease. And so treatments can be tailored, again, looking at your DNA profile to say, well, actually, this treatment would work better for you, or this preventative measure would work better for you. So because there are so many overlaying considerations to be made, we would normally, in healthcare, it would normally be a decision that's made at what's called an MDT, a multidisciplinary team, where lots of different people are coming in from lots of different aspects. In future, all of that knowledge and all of those aspects could potentially be put into one place using artificial intelligence, so that at some point in the future, you could give them some DNA and they'll say, well, you're quite likely to get this particular cancer or this particular disease. So the AI will then suggest a regime of healthy activities or medication to prevent that happening in the first place. So there's lots of things that can happen. Virtual wards is happening now. So that's what I was describing to you about the Internet of Things and using different types of technology to connect to the internet and connect that information back to doctors and nurses in the hospital instead of you having to be in the hospital. Early diagnosis. And now advances in AI diagnostic tools are already detecting cancer early. So there are diagnostic tools which are used to examine mammograms, for example, and they have been shown to be more accurate than humans at finding early signs of cancer. And we all know with cancer, the earlier the treatment, the better the outcome. And potentially in the future, it could be looking at other diseases such as Alzheimer's. And all of these things, the earlier that things can be treated and dealt with, the less intrusive and invasive it is for the individual, but also the more likely you are to come out with healthy outcomes at the end. So, how did I meet Joan? So this is a project that I have been involved with now for 3 years. ORCA, so Organ Quality Assessment, and it's a digital decision-making support tool for point of donation organ assessment. Now, obviously, for people in this group, the thought of organ donation and making sure that the right organs go to the right people is very, very important. And this applies to all sorts of organs, but a lot of this currently relies upon unsupported visual assessment of the organ's quality. Now, when an organ transplant surgeon starts in their profession, they tend to start by being part of the retrieval team. So they will be called when there are organs available for donation. And these people then pass on the information to the receiving surgeons. And those receiving surgeons will then say, based on the information that's been shared with them by the first surgeon, they will make a decision as to whether they want to use that organ for one of their patients. Now, you have to bear in mind that the people that will be getting these messages have probably trained the people that are sending the messages. They don't want to get it wrong. They really don't. They want to make absolutely the best decision possible. So they're more likely to be a little bit more cautious than a more experienced surgeon would be. But again, you want a really experienced surgeon to be putting the organ into you. So the less experienced surgeon have to be somewhere in that chain. They have to be somewhere in that chain. But what we'd really like is a less experienced surgeon to feel the same level of confidence as a more experienced surgeon. So what this software does is instead of saying, well, the surgeon's takes a photo, they were taking photos and they were sending them securely, but along with, oh well, I think it's fairly good, I think it's ideal, whatever the surgeon wants to say. But when you look at the variations in colour that can happen in an organ, so this is again looking at kidneys. A good kidney is this sort of colour range. And with a kidney, what you want is something that doesn't have a lot of bruising, signs of damage to the tissue. So the darker it gets, the less usable it becomes. But sometimes it's very subjective. It could be that a more experienced surgeon would say, actually, because I've felt it and I've looked at this and so on, I feel quite happy with that. Or it could be that they're saying, well, I've got somebody who's 80 who is fit for transplant, and they don't need this organ to last them 50 years or 40 years. So we could use it with them, but they're going to get it. They're going to get an organ, or rather than not get an organ. So there's lots of reasons to try and make this receiving the initial surgeon feel more confident in making their decisions. And when you look at it like this, it's not just about the decision of their opinion of how it looks and feels, but also they're sending a photograph. And photographs really vary depending on the light that you're in, depending on the position that you're in. Have you got the light behind you? Is it in front of you? Is the image in a standard setting? Has it been put into a bowl? Is it not in a bowl? And as you can see from this example here, this is exactly the same black and white checkerboard. But if you look at B, on the second image, it looks much darker. And I would say A looks lighter. So it's very hard to make an objective decision based on an image and someone's opinion who's a bit nervous because you're a really experienced surgeon. So I have to say at this point that this works. It's all about erring on the side of caution. It's not that this results in bad outcomes. It just results in more cautious use of potential organs. Okay. Now, when you look at livers, what we're looking for in a liver is a darker liver rather than a lighter liver. So it's the opposite to a kidney. And the project that I'm working on aims to support clinical assessment and selection of available donor organs by providing a software tool to help quickly identify marginal organs that are actually good enough to use by assessing their appearance. And it also facilitates communication between the donor and recipient hospitals for a faster response. That would mean fewer discarded organs at the donor hospital and an increased confidence of surgeons. The final decision will always remain that of the implanting surgeon. So it only gives a score. It doesn't tell you what to do. It gives a score and a rating on probability. And the way that it works is it combines image color analytics. I did have slides to describe that, but actually I found them more complicated. Image color analytics, what it does is it takes the image and turns it into a digital data. And in that digital data, as I said, with livers, for example, we want a darker liver. So we want a pinker liver that looks healthy, and it will effectively be saying how much pinkness is in this pixel, how much whiteness is in this pixel, and the next pixel, and the next. So that's when we're talking about image color analytics, and it gives the image a donor organ score, which then helps with the decision-making process for the surgeon. It's derived from comparisons from very experienced surgeons who have looked at hundreds of livers and scored all those livers. And what they will have done is they will have said, that's a good one, that's not so good one, I would still use this. And they will give all of these a score. And then AI, the artificial intelligence, compares that score with the data analytics of the image of the potential donor organ against those comparative levels of data analytics from other images. So I hope that's not too round the houses with that one, but by all means, ask me more if you want to know more at the end. So they can, the surgeons can use ORCA images and scores to aid decision making when they're accepting those donor organs for their patients. And then over the next 20 years, we'll witness AI not only enhancing everyday lives, but also addressing some of the most pressing and challenging problems facing humanity. Embracing this technology with thoughtful governance and a focus on ethical development is key to unlocking its full potential. So seriously, the human element should never come out of this. The final decision and the fact that in the real world, there's always a yes, but we need to keep that there. And ethics, particularly in hospitals, and as Joan and John will know, working with hospitals, there is absolutely a focus on the ethics being right in things like these types of critical decisions. So that's it. I have some more slides if people want them about environmental AI and so on, but I just thought I would just open it up if anybody's got any questions.
I'll stop sharing, Kate, and then we can see everybody's.
Yeah.
I think your screen's still on.
Oh, there we go.
That's it. There we are. We're back again. Great stuff. So excellent slides. I've got one question. You said that you could create videos just by telling it what you wanted to do, and it would use royalty-free images that are available on the internet. What program did you use for that? Was that GPT?
No, that was Video Gen.
Video Gen.
Yeah.
Okay, I've just written that down.
Now, if you want to create videos using cartoons,
Yeah.
Powtoon.
Sorry, say that again.
Powtoon. Papa Oscar Whiskey, Tango Oscar Oscar November.
Excellent. Great stuff. I'm pleased you're using the phonetic alphabet. I used it all my life, and it's a great aim to clarity, isn't it?
Yes. I'm
Now,
just
something
married to an ex-Royal Marine, so I don't really get a choice in it.
All right. Good. They probably had to leave us because she couldn't get her camera to work, but she's waiting for the video when it comes out. Any questions, anyone? Please put your hand up if you have a question.
It's quite a heavy topic for a Thursday night, isn't it?
I think it's fine. I think you made it easy to understand. I'm quite happy with what was said.
I think it's the potential for it, and particularly when you can create cartoons, is absolutely incredible, because people can actually relate to pictures, simple pictures, easier than trying to fathom what all these words mean. So if there's a visual, I think it's incredible.
Yeah, picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yeah, and we've just had we sent out a questionnaire, well, a survey about AI with the last newsletter, because one of the professors at Newcastle wanted to know how people felt about it being used in healthcare, and just on the hard copies alone, we've received 113 back. So she's going to get some really good information. And that doesn't count the people who used the QR code and went online. So yeah, I think, and the fact that you can sit there and explain it, you deserve a medal.
No, that's right.
So Joan and I will be working with the Orca team on actually the patient and public involvement and engagement on this piece. So we will be sharing information and creating videos real time with teams of patients and public. So if anybody is really interested in this and wants to get involved in any of that, then please let Joan know, because we're going to have online and in-person meetings, and you'll get to see me making videos. I'm just I haven't used Powtoon yet. It's been recommended and I'm going to use it. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to get to play with it quite a bit.
Oh, that's great. The another thing is to you say that it's with us all the time, AI.
Yes.
Joan and I have found more and more frequently when we go to look at something at the shops, or we look on something on the internet, you get a blinking video about it or an advert on your phone, within half an hour. Everyone knows what you're looking at. They know where you've been. They know what you've bought.
Mhm.
It's incredible, isn't it? The Internet of Things is everywhere now.
Yes, yes, it is. And Marion asked, will there be a human review? Will there be a human reviewing test results?
That's a good
So,
question. Yeah.
yeah, as I said, one of the important things about this is that there's always going to be the human element. So, um, I do not know of any AI at this point that doesn't have the final say from a human being. So all AI at the moment is used as decision support, not rather than decision making. I'm not saying in the future it won't become decision making after the decision support side of things has been proven over and over and over again to be better. And that's what it would need to be able to do before any regulatory body would accept it.
Mhm.
But as it stands at the moment, there is always a human at the end of it who will then check and will be able to give their opinion.
Mhm.
And I think that opinion isn't just about, well, this particular image or this particular problem. It, you've misdiagnosed, the software has misdiagnosed. It's also that humans can take into account things like, well, this particular person needs something dealing with quickly because they don't have somebody to look after them at home for very long, etc., etc. So those sorts of elements, the human element always has to be there for healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we understand that, and that's when Colin first started this organ perfusion.
Mm,
Derek Manis at the time was saying they're trying to take photographs of the organs. This
mm,
is about 10 years ago or more. Take photographs of the organs and send them by Bluetooth to other doctors, and they would have a panel who would all look at them, look at this organ, and all give it a score.
mm.
And of course, that's what they tried to do, but now they've got it. AI's doing it. But of course, it doesn't make the final decision, as you say. It's always the surgeon implanting that has to take the final decision,
And
along with the
of course,
MDT.
yeah, and of course, those surgeons have already scored a very,
Yeah.
very large number
Hmm.
of organs in order to create that database in the first place.
Well,
So
that's right.
when it is
That's right.
it's AI based on surgeons, and they're all the really experienced surgeons.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
AI based on surgeons' opinions, experienced surgeons' opinions from multiple images.
Yeah. So the computers never learned anything themselves. They learn it from humans and
Yeah.
store it and give it a value, and that's how it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Is there any
The
more? Oh
Yeah,
yes, go on,
the
Liz.
survey
You're
that we
mute.
had, I mean, I couldn't resist looking at the responses in it. I didn't have to feed them into the computer, thankfully, but it was absolutely clear that people want information sheets that are simple and easy to understand for reassurance, how it works.
Yeah.
So I guess on Orca, it'll be down to us to make sure that happens.
It will be, absolutely. And the patients and public that work with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So, I don't know is it Liz that's got the question? Liz or Alf? It's Alf. Okay, Alf.
Thank you. That's been a tremendous, actually, discussion. I mean, I've listened to over the last 3 weeks. The media has actually been full of AI, and we've had the great and the good of the of ITV and BBC trying to explain what AI is. And at the end of the day, I was totally confused. But thank you, the curtains have suddenly opened, and I'm beginning to really understand what AI is and what they do. But a question I want to ask is, do you think copyright is dead?
well, copyright is not dead if you want to use images and information that have been created by human beings. However, as someone that creates a lot of written content using AI in my professional job, I don't do that anymore. In the past, I would have done. I would have sought out, what the copyright situation is for an image, or I would have quoted and referenced the people that have given me information, which of course I still do. And AI is very, very good at lying about quotes. It's fantastic liar. So I would always double check any references. In fact, instead of asking AI to give me references, I will give it references. I will feed it the clinical papers and then say, please only reference the attached papers. Otherwise, it lies like a trooper. But I would say that ChatGPT, the image function now on the paid version is so good, I would never need to use a human created image again, which is sort of scary, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we use ChatGPT. We haven't gone for the paid version. It's probably because it's expensive. I don't know what it costs.
No, it's not. It's not expensive. I think it's £9 a month.
No, right. Oh, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT has got two versions. It's got a beta version of 4.5 running at the moment for the paid version, which is amazing for content. Because as someone who uses AI for generating content, I read some of my older posts, which I did with AI, and it makes me cringe because the minute I read them, I can tell it's AI generated.
Yeah.
It uses a lot of superlatives. There's Z's in everything. There's exclamation marks. Everything's amazing. And reach out to us. And all of these come and let's all share and all stuff that I would never say. Stuff that I would never say. And anybody who would read it would know that's not Kate. She's used ChatGPT. Whereas now with the 4.5, you can tell it your tone, you can tell it what you want to see, and it will actually create content that looks like and reads like it has been written by a human being, which is, I know when you first use ChatGPT and it creates content for you, you think, wow, that's amazing. And that's far better than anything I could write. But then over time, I look back and I've become far more critical of that content. So the paid version with the 4.5, if you need to write a speech for a wedding, or you have to do presentations in public or anything, it's very good. It's very good for doing that. And also on version 4, So you need to toggle between 4.5 and 4. But if you're in version 4, it can now generate images with words that are real words. Whereas images on ChatGPT in the past used to have strange aliens popping up, and it would start off looking like it was typing in alphanumerics, and it really wasn't. So it was very clearly a generated image, but now it will do poster campaigns with slogans on them and all sorts. It's absolutely
Excellent.
amazing.
Sounds too good to ignore, doesn't it?
It is really.
Yeah.
So if you ever need a session on how to use ChatGPT, just let me know.
Well, we've had a one actually. We've had we had, I don't know if you know Derek Mann and his wife Yelena Mann. They're two professors at the university who are involved with fibrosis research. They run the Fibro Lab, and Derek offered Joan Yelena to come and teach her ChatGPT. So she came one night, and Joan had a nice session with it. She's never given up using it since.
Yes, it's amazing. I was taught how to use it by one of the most polite people on the planet. So I'm incredibly polite to ChatGPT. I'm very pleased and thank you, and would you mind?
So
Um,
you'll be getting your commission from ChatGPT once this video goes.
I actually have written a letter today, which I used ChatGPT not to write, but I wrote what I wanted to say and just asked it to refine it.
yeah.
And then some of the changes it made, I didn't agree with. But it gives you, instead of me saying to John, come and read this and see what you think, I got it done in, much less time. But when Yelena came to tell me about it, I mean, I was so shocked, and it all happened so quickly. I thought, I'm going to look like an absolute fool here because I don't understand the first thing about it. And it's so simple.
It's very simple.
I just think it's amazing. But to practice, my friend was sitting next to me when I did this. I put in, tell me about Joe Bloggs. Now, Joe Bloggs was actually sitting in our living room at the time, and it came up that he died in 2018. So I popped along to make sure he was still breathing. So when you're saying about it, it doesn't always tell the truth. I mean, clearly someone with the same name had died in 2018. But it came as a bit of a shock when it came up on the screen.
Yes. Don't expect all it. I like to, in the same way as I don't like to go to a doctor unless I've got a range of diagnoses that I think are a possibility. I don't like to go to ChatGPT without knowing what I want to say to a degree and knowing the facts around the subject. Because it's when you start using it because you don't know the facts, that's when you start looking like an idiot. Because it will put in random things which are completely untrue and in the wrong context.
Yeah, that's what Derek said actually, that they do a lot of marking papers for the students, and they can tell straight away if a student's used ChatGPT to write the dissertation, and they just say, right, do it again. That wasn't written by you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the 4.5, that would be very hard to tell as long as you're feeding the facts in and then saying, please, but you need to do it a section at a time. So I use it for bid work. So for large government contracts on behalf of my clients.
Yeah.
If you just said, please write an answer to this questionnaire, then you're going to come heavily unstuck. Whereas if you say, right, this is the question, this is how it needs to be answered, here is the associated information from the company, here is some additional information that I want you to include, then it will give you a good answer.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions for Kate? Are we all happy? We all now fully understand ChatGPT. Well, this video is going out shortly. I'll stop recording if that's all right. Everybody's happy now?